Selfishly.
Oh, I see that. Records. So how you like being a dad, Matt?
Oh, it's the best.
I got 4 girls, so
I do you really?
yeah. So when you say girls, I'm all about it, bro. Yeah, I love
that's
it.
awesome, man. Gonna have to send you a girl dad club hat, man.
I'm gonna actually buy one. I haven't had time to.
Yeah.
I got 2 12-year-olds, 11-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and they just
Wow, that's incredible, man. Awesome.
they keep me on my feet.
Okay. Let me go back to the live screen. Come here. Sit down.
I'll get the baby chair.
Yeah, get the baby chair.
For who? Me. No, you get it. I get this.
Okay, if you guys are watching, hi. We're about to start recording. I'm gonna cover this
Hey,
person.
guys.
I'm gonna cover this person up. Okay.
Can you see me?
Y'all ready to get going? Are we pinned to the top, Matt?
Why are you?
Yeah, you pinned it to the top already.
Huh?
Why are you covering him?
Cause it's a surprise, okay? Stop. All right, let me pull my microphone close. You all gotta be quiet, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, gotta be quiet, no noises. Shh.
Jackson, make all the noise you want.
Stop, Harish. I'm sending him to you. Hold on, stop, real quick, ready? Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the AFC South Fan Battle Podcast. My name is Samantha Warnett. Joining us tonight for the Colts, we have Harish Nukala.
Yo, baby, it's football season. Let's go.
Joining us for the Texans, we have Matthew Briggs.
Number 1 draft coming up. Let's do it. 2022.
Joining us for the Titans, we have Duke's Mayonnaise. Duke's Mayonnaise, because we don't have a Titans commentator tonight. But we do have a special guest. Before I introduce our special guest, however, I have a couple other special guests that are going to join us for just a second. Now, we are on a Zoom call, so I have our special guest covered up. So I got my kids, Brianna and Jackson, here. So, Brianna, come over here into the webcam real quick.
Okay.
And come closer to the microphone.
Okay.
Tell me, what is your favorite... You got to stand up so they can see you.
Fair.
What is your favorite memory from a Jaguars game?
I'm not sure really. The time when I high-fived Calais Campbell.
Yeah,
That was pretty nice.
that was nice. He's huge, huh?
Yes.
He's way bigger than you thought he was.
Yeah, he's super tall.
Come here, sit in my lap. What's your favorite memory, Jackson? Back up a little bit.
Do you remember when where you're on the sideline and that football player high-fived me?
Yes. Do you remember what his name was?
Matt Overton.
Guess what? Look who's on the podcast tonight. Matt Overton. Can you believe it? Are you so excited?
Yes, I really am.
Yeah, I remember that photo. I remember the game and everything, man. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, it's exciting to be on here and have a little fun with everybody and talk some football. And to meet you again.
Yep. You gonna give him an on-air high five? Give him an on-air high five.
There you
Yeah.
go, man.
All right, y'all go back to your rooms. I just
This
wanted
was all planned. Yeah. Run, Dexter, run. I'm gonna get your drink.
Anyways,
For the internet. Good content.
that's good. But anyways, that's the number one thing that I tell Matt. Welcome to the
Thank
podcast.
you.
That's the number one thing though that I tell these players, like we were talking about in pre-production, like those kind of instances, like he could have ended up being a Texans fan because he loves J.J. Watt so much, but.
Sure.
And me meeting Tom McManus in the 3rd grade, if he would have been a jerk to me, who knows, you know? Yeah. And actually, it's funny because the Calais Campbell thing, that was the first preseason game, and he came by and high-fived her, and he was so upset, right? Because he didn't actually make a connect. He was probably 5 at the time, and then it was like a couple games later, she wasn't down there with us, and then he was like, "Guess what?" and bragging about it. But that was such a cool thing. So anyways, hi. How are you?
Doing?
Matt
Yeah,
Overton,
been a
long
time
snapper.
Long time overdue.
long snapper, former Colt, Titan, and Jaguar.
Yeah.
So,
Seahawks.
well, who cares? It's AFC South fan battle. Come on. Nobody cares about Seahawks. I'm just saying. But, so I'm going to start off questioning.
Sure.
It's going to be a tough one. Which was the best and why is it the Jaguars?
Out of the three teams, my
Yes.
experiences.
Yes.
I mean, they're all extremely special to me. I mean, I gotta go with Indy just because I was there for 5 years and
Boo.
really got to solidify myself there in the community and called it home for 8 years and met my wife there who was a cheerleader and incredible memories. So Indy's special to me, but my time in Jacksonville was kind of a turning point in my career where it being a part of the 2017 team when things turned around and made it to the AFC Championship that year and when everyone had counted us out.
Correct. The best.
So, going to a familiar team, obviously staying within conference was a little strange just because, I honestly didn't want to go to Jacksonville. I wanted to go to a team who I thought was going to be a contender. And, of course, my time when the crazy thing is when I first got to Jacksonville, I got there probably week 2 of training camp. Carson Tinker got hurt for the year, so I filled in for him. And I was there right when, all the chatter was, they're going to cut Bortles, they're going to get Eli Manning because of the Tom Coughlin connection. And, Bortles can't do this, he can't do that. The receivers are all disgruntled. This is, and really the kind of the glue that kept everything together was, guys like Calais Campbell and
I miss him so much.
Guys that they brought in through, AJ Boye. It just was those guys you can really, pillars of the team that you can build a team around. I know they're not offensive players, but, they still had the respect of everybody in the locker room. And then, so I'm kind of coming in when things are just kind of crazy. Training camp is hard in Jacksonville. It's hot every single day. At the time, there was no indoor facility, so you're outside regardless. You just got to kind of play around the rain and the weather. And I think we had 2 joint practices in a row. We were a week in New England, a week with Tampa at home. So it was just a grueling training camp. And guys were just, because Tom Coughlin runs a tight ship. You don't mess around. He's hardcore. He's old school. So it's pads every day. It's, up at 5:30 every morning. You're there until 8 p.m. at night. So it's long. So guys were just, the culture there is not about winning. It's like, let's hope we win, and it's like, let's try to figure this thing out. No, honestly, because I come from Indy where, several teams that can, they expect to win every year. And Indy's one of those teams. And you go to Jacksonville, it's like, they're praying every night for, a 500 season or whatever.
I'm just happy to go 9-7 every year.
No, yeah. It's hard. It's hard to win. But, when I got there, it was just like the house was a mess. So it's like, what am I my first impression was like, hardly knew anybody on the team.
The reason why we laughed was because we had about 2 months ago, we had Rashawn Jennings, and he said the exact same thing.
Yeah, but that would have been in 2009.
Pretty much word for word. So that's why.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where I'll never forget our first game that year was against Houston on the road, and we blew the doors off Houston.
Oh, I remember that.
And,
that was Deshaun Watson's first game. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was we lost our key receiver in the first drive of the game, tore ACL.
Allen Robinson, right?
Yeah, A-Rob.
Yes.
And it was like, oh my, here we go. Here's just the downhill spiral. But we scored 40 points. Leonard Fournette had a great game. His rookie debut. Bortles was making plays, and our defense Saxonville started. We had 5-6 sacks that game, and
You know what's sad about that, Matt?
Dante Fowler and Yannick were going crazy, and Calais obviously, and Telvin Smith, and
You know what's sad about that? None of those people are still there. None of them.
I know, and again, it just started. It started an incredible season, and we just kind of kept rolling. No one believed in us, and even not being familiar with Jacksonville and kind of just the culture that the city brings regarding Jaguars football is it's a kind of just a melting pot of people from all over because of the military base and all that kind of stuff. So you have people in the city that are fans of like teams from all over. And so I think like the nucleus is like obviously Jags fans, but they've been losing. So it's like, you don't have that hardcore, support all the time just because they've been through, hell and back,
Yeah.
every single year for a long time since like 99 or whatever it was.
Well, and really all of us.
The glory days of Coughlin being the head coach, so
Yeah.
that season was good. And I remember like, I don't know, we were probably 5-2 or something around that point. And I remember being at the Publix grabbing something to eat. And I must have I had like a Jags hat or a shirt on or something like that. And the grocery clerk was like, "Did the Jags win this week?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, you're not paying attention." Like, "Yeah, but it's just the Jags, it's you never know. They have a fluke thing."
It's so true.
But that was kind of like when I share my experience with Jacksonville, that was kind of like the fans were so skeptical. It's like, we're winning, it's exciting, but like, is this really real? Like, are they the real deal? And I think it was like until like we beat Seattle, which is like week 10 or week 11 of the season, where like I think the nation was starting to take note of like, wow, like Jacksonville they're at the time like I said, like 8-2, 7-3 or whatever it was. We're rolling. We smoked Indy. I mean, they didn't have Andrew Luck, but we blew the doors off them.
We do that at home every year anyway, so.
I was gonna add, I wanted to talk about that, but
Yeah, but it was, like I said, 2017 was special, being a part of the team that kind of took that turn and made it all the way to the AFC Championship. Honestly, I really feel like, man, just a few plays kept us out of the Super Bowl.
You mentioned the AFC Championship. So, question to you: was Miles Jacks down?
No.
Thank you.
No way.
The 2017 season had a really big. I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Because I was pregnant,
Yeah.
and it was all happiness. Like one of the games, the playoff game, the Bills at home. I didn't see. I sit in 143, so it was further downfield, so I couldn't see it. So I came home. My husband's not a football guy, ironically. So I come home and I'm rewatching the play where they went down, and then I ended up watching till the end of the game because it was in the fourth quarter. And I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, my husband's like, "Are you crying?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm just so happy."
Oh,
It was like
it was
the
cool
best.
to see the
best.
I know the Bills traveled really well that game, but like, man, just having that entire stadium packed and when that place is filled up, man, they're great fans and it's loud and you got to remember, like I came into the league in 2012, so my first year was we played the Jags twice a year, once on the road, and my memories of I don't even know what the stadium name is now. They've changed it so many times. But
TIAA now.
it's still TIAA.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So like my when I got signed to Jacksonville, some of my first thoughts that went through my head are like, free beer for a ticket, ticket admission. Like, I mean, that's what I remember. There was a game, and again, who wants to sit in the stands at 1 p.m. on September,
Dude.
October? It's awful.
Yes.
And I remember we were playing. I was with the Colts. We're playing that one game, and all the upper deck is tarped. There's probably, maybe 20, 30,000 fans, maybe, and this is a big maybe. And I remember they're just promoting dollar beer day or whatever it was just to get anybody in the stands. And that was just my, coming from, a winning culture to, a losing culture. That was just my thoughts that initially went in. And so that's why I'm just so grateful that my experience there in Jacksonville was a really, really good one. And I know 2018 was tough because we had actually 18 and 19 were big letdowns because the expectation was so high after 2017 and we had the best defense in the league for the 2-3 years there going in, and then slowly but surely just things fell apart, and obviously the Coughlin and Marone drama happened and Caldwell stuff and guys just started
dropping like flies.
And it's
Jacksonville
it's
became
unfortunate
Jacksonville.
because I think
up,
that
Birch.
they had a really good thing going, and obviously you never let Jalen Ramsey walk. Generational talent. And
Yeah.
but I think
I've never
now
heard of her.
They've
Never heard of that woman.
to give Jacksonville some praise. I think they've probably quietly have had the best offseason this year by any team, just with Urban and obviously Trevor Lawrence and just the guys they brought in. I think they're going to start making some noise, and they're a young team. I mean, they really have to rebuild, but I think Jacksonville should be excited for what they have got going on.
Yeah, like you said, I think they did too because, yeah, they had a great draft class. Like, they did some good draft picks. But, like, the low-key names, like Griffin on the defense side, that's a great pickup for him.
Also, he's a great cornerback, yeah.
And then Jones as a receiver with veteran presence, I think it's a good pickup for the guys.
And they got some good young guys there with, obviously the running backs they got, and I know there's they got some really good O-linemen with Linder and Robinson kind of anchoring, and then what was his name? Taywan? Is that his name?
Taywan Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, really good nucleus guy. AJ Can, Tyler Shatley, old veteran guys that have been there for a long time now. So yeah, it's really, really nice. I mean, Chark is a beast, and
Chenault.
so if they could just get some guys defensively rolling and get some of those edge rushers going, and obviously,
Well, they're gonna win.
Probably gonna be all right. They're gonna be all right.
They're gonna win at least 2 games this year against the Texans. So
Right.
they got 2 wins.
That's our first week.
apparently-
Yeah,
Apparently they'll win.
You never count them out, man.
yeah,
Apparently
that's
they'll win one against Indy and Jacksonville because for whatever reason we can't seem to win in Jacksonville. I was actually going to be my question for you. What is that like when it's like, man, we haven't won in so and so place in like 17,000 years? Like, what is that feeling like, especially knowing Jacksonville, being in Jacksonville, and then translating that from your previous experience in Indy? I mean, Indy hasn't won in Jacksonville since 2014. So, like, what is that? Is that something the players think about, or the staff, or is that something that comes to mind?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
what is that dynamic like?
they always talk about, like, during free agency, like what lures free agents to certain organizations. Obviously, a big paycheck is one thing, and no state income tax in Florida. So a lot of guys look at that kind of stuff. But when you talk about like a winning culture, guys want to win, especially if they're later in their career and they've never really experienced anything. Like, look at Puslesny. When I was with him his last year, like, he's been in the league 12 years at the time, and that 2017 was his first time ever experiencing the playoffs. Mercedes Lewis, another guy, like, play forever, and now he's in an organization that, like, they expect to make it to the NFC Championship and get to the Super Bowl every year, so you go from these teams, and they're just completely different ran organizations, and you have Shad is a great team owner, but he's relatively new to the game, and a lot of these other organizations have had the same owner for decades, and really involved in the organization and team and the communities behind them 100%. And so, I mean, it's hard when you're not winning, like, it's all about, that's what it's all about. It's all about winning. And that's what the fans expect, because they pay their hard-earned money every year to come support them and whatnot. And
too much money.
And Jacksonville is just crying for, that's why Tebow, like, the whole thing with Tebow, like, people can hate all they want, but that dude's a hometown hero, and he's going to bring people into the stadium, whether he's on the sideline as a coach, whether he's playing 2 reps or he's a starter. Like, people are going to come see him because he has that much impact in that community. And I mean, from a business standpoint, that was one of the greatest, things that they could have done to bring him back with Urban, and they have a lot of history, but like that dude's a hometown
Yeah,
hero.
that's the thing. That's the thing about Jacksonville. So when you were talking earlier about seeing the tarps and stuff, so the biggest problem is that, like, the culture. There's not culture in Jacksonville. Like, 2012. Like, I grew up here, right? And it's rare that you see somebody grow up here. Now you do more. So people my age, like, we're getting into our 30s. I know you would never guess it, but I'm just kidding. But getting into our 30s now, we can afford it. We can buy season tickets. We can, do all these things. We're taking our kids. We're naming them after the team. Like, who would do that? It's stupid. So that was me, by the way. But anyway, so we are now getting the culture and creating the culture. But it's been tough. It sucked, like, to be the laughing stock. But we hear it over and over, like, there's no more tarps and, the whole London thing. But I do have a question for you about the situation. Like, Who do you think now, like the kickers have always been like, isn't that sad? Like the kickers have always been the star players of the Jaguars. Lambeau tweeted some stuff out a few weeks ago calling out the NFLPA and saying like sarcastically, we're all one team, right? And do you think there's something going on with that? Like we heard from Ramsey this week was on a podcast and he basically called out the organization and it was all Dave Caldwell and a little bit of Coughlin. Do you think there's still bad, like, how do I put it without?
I don't know.
Animosity.
I don't know. Lando tweeted. Is it in relation to the COVID protocol? Or
No, this was weeks ago. This was about a month ago. That I do want to unpack with you though, for sure. I do want to talk about that.
Lando directed some tweets at the organization. I don't know what it said.
He tweeted them and said something about I've called you guys and it's been 3 weeks with no answer, and then they were like, oh well, thank you for writing us, because you know they're like are acting like a customer service line where you call them and they don't pick up the phone but they'll respond to your tweet kind of thing. And then he goes, thanks, also all one team, right? But then now we've got
PA. What are you talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, not the Jags.
No, not the Jags, to the NFLPA. But I'm like, you know, that raises some suspicions, like, well, what's going on? Because then we have Rojas in there. So who do you think is going to be the starter? Is Lambeau done because of his hip? Is there still animosity and he wants to leave? Like, have you heard anything? Do you know?
Lambeau's a guy. I know he's had some injuries the past couple of years, but I mean, the dude's like 98%, whatever he is, over the past 3 or 4 years, and he's made a name for himself within that organization and community.
Love him.
He loves living there. I know that for a fact, and I know he's been pretty. You know, I haven't talked to him personally in a while, but I know how competitive he is, and I'm sure he's just really upset about the injuries he's had, and you know, landing on IR for like 2 years in a row. But when he's on the field, man, he makes his kicks, so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know, I know people love Scobie and all that kind of stuff, and you know, Lambeau's right there with you know, breaking all the, you know, if he's there long enough, break all the records and get some more All Pros and whatnot if he keeps it up, man. So yeah, Lambeau and Mastic and Logan Cook. I mean, those three guys are pretty dialed in, and I know Rosas is a proven veteran and whatnot, and brings competition to the table. But
I just worry about the whole.
That's Lambeau's. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess there's always the chance of injury because everyone has that chance, but it's Lambeau's job to lose for sure. I mean, he's done a great job.
I'll cry. I love him so much. I'm like, no.
Okay, settle down.
I know. Listen, I love any football player that loves Jacksonville. Like, I don't even acknowledge Jalen Ramsey as a person because
you need to
of
love
what he
Logan
did.
Cook then, dude. Logan Cook loves. I mean, he's not as his presence.
I love
on
every-
social media isn't
Love him.
grand, but
Scobie, love
that
him.
dude fishes every day and
Yeah.
golfs, and I mean, he loves Jacksonville.
Will he yell at a random Duval if somebody yells at him? Then I love him. You know.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey, never heard of her, so whatever. Never heard of her. So the
We have a
NFL.
question. Hold on, we have a question
Go ahead.
from the group. You know, you missed him when you left the Colts. You went to Jacksonville. That year before you went to Jacksonville, who did you want to go to?
Oh.
Well, you know, so my last year in Indy was 2016, and then it was in 2017 that I got released, and then signed that summer with Jacksonville. So when it came down to it, you know, there were some teams that had called and showed a lot of interest in bringing me in, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, and I kind of share this with my testimony when I talk about Jacksonville and kind of my transition there. But you know, if I were to make a list of like 32 teams or 31 other teams to go to, Jacksonville was 31. I mean, again, I wanted to experience something new. I wanted to get out of conference. I wanted to, you know, go to NFC or something like that. And at the time, like I said, you know, Jacksonville was just, you know, 2 and 14, or always had the first top 3 picks in the draft. And, you know, a lot of it, you look at like just the stability of the team. You know, they're shuffling through head coaches, they're shuffling through coordinators, they're shuffling through quarterbacks, all that kind of stuff. And when you're looking as, selfishly, you want to go somewhere that's like, in line and a competitor and someone who can win, and go somewhere that you're going to be competitive. And so, I mean, I'm not afraid to share that I didn't want to go to Jacksonville, but God took me there for a reason, and it turned out to be one of the greatest things of my life to experience.
Heard that. Yeah, Harish. Greatest thing ever.
Yeah,
Greatest.
greatest thing ever to be a 1-year wonder. Is that what I heard?
Hey.
Hello?
Oh,
It was
no,
a
what
great
I heard,
deal.
no, what he said
It was
was he couldn't wait to get to Jacksonville because he knew that at least then he'd be winning at home playing in a Colts game because, they can't beat the Colts.
Listen,
The Colts can't beat them in
The
TIAA.
crazy is that when I talk about my experience with all the teams, right? Like I've been on some really good teams in Indy. 2017 in Jacksonville was really good, and then this past year here in Nashville with the Titans. When I was with Indy, we could never beat the Steelers or New England. But when I went to Jacksonville, we always beat the Steelers and we beat New England. Obviously, we lost in the playoffs in the AFC Championship to New England, but it was weird. I was on a really good team in Indy, but we could never beat certain teams. But then when I went to Jacksonville, we never lost to those teams that I couldn't beat before.
But you can win
And
the
then when
other
I was in
ones.
Jacksonville, we never beat the Titans. Titans
We
always
never
beat us.
have.
And then
They're our
when I was in
weakness.
Indy, we never lost in 5 years. Well, when I was there, we broke the record for like most consecutive wins against a conference team. I think it was like 16 games in a row that we had won against the Titans. And so, but it's weird how things like kind of shift, it's just weird,
Yeah. Titans.
So
God
at least I
bless
got to say, like, I beat Pittsburgh on the road,
Roofed up.
beat New England at one point. Because at Indy, we got blown out by those teams. Those were like the teams that we could never get past. So
Yeah.
I think that was the year. Was that the year too that you played with us when we beat the Steelers when everybody sent in Roethlisberger turnovers? Like we're back for the Jaguars. It was great. I loved it.
he threw like 5 picks.
And you know what? I don't even care. I'll take one of those seasons every 10 years. Whatever. Good enough for me.
But you speak of the Titans. So last year you played for them, right?
Yeah.
So how did y'all find that punter last year? Did he come to your house delivering a FedEx package? And you're like, hey man, I need a punter. Would you come play with us? Like how did that happen?
With what are you talking about?
The punter from FedEx that they picked up.
Oh, Trevor. Well, okay.
I know. I was just giving.
I know we need to pump the brakes a little bit because fans get crazy. They think that like the NFL goes out and just picks up dudes that are doing some odd job that has no business being on the field.
Well, it's funny. We actually had a guy. We have a commentator that works for FedEx.
Because Trevor played for the Texans the year before, the entire season.
Right, and he was drafted, and he also was drafted by the Jaguars, was he not?
No, I don't think he was drafted.
I thought he was.
But he played. He's a local guy. He played at Tennessee. So when he had the COVID thing, like really messed up
everybody,
things.
right?
So the fact that he was local, they just brought him in on the practice squad. And when Kern got hurt, he filled in, and so we had him. Me and Trev played like 3 games together before Brett got back. So people are like, "Oh my gosh, he signed a UPS truck driver." No, he's an NFL bona fide free agent that just so happened to be working another job until he got his call.
Like
So
I get that.
I mean, for years I did odd jobs off of like Craigslist until I got picked up.
Oh, I get that, but we just gotta give Titan fans a hard time,
No, I know, I get it, but I hate the fans that like don't understand like the reality of like these are multi-billion-dollar team organizations. They don't just go hire some Joe Schmo off the road because they think he can punt a football. No,
The Titans did draft a professional wrestler this year, wasn't it?
They didn't draft him. They signed him as a
Or signed him.
Big difference.
Yeah, picked
Big
him up.
difference.
We like to pick on. You know what, Matt Overton? You sure are defending the
man.
Titans a lot.
Yeah.
Were they your favorite team to play for?
Well, they're my most recent. So like.
Oh,
they're
okay.
national, so I gotta
You
show
still
some-
got okay. It's like you haven't washed off the
Memories are fresh.
crud.
The memories are fresh.
Very, very
You haven't washed off the crud
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
But they were your least favorite, right? Yes. Okay, moving on. So, listen, we have to get.
I've won a conference championship with every single team, so I have a special place in my heart for everything.
There you
And,
go.
and that's why you didn't come to the Texans, because you want to win one, and you knew
Yeah,
the Texans
if-
weren't-
you know,
and the Texans weren't going to win. So I get it.
The joke is, if I go to Houston, I got to win my 4th AFC
And yeah, you're not going to do it
or
with us.
AFC South championship.
Yeah.
But they got John Weeks there. You have one of the best snappers in the league. And,
Oh yeah, I love me some John Weeks.
yeah.
Well, Matt, let's ask you some tough questions. That's not tough. It's a differing of opinions. There's been a bunch of players coming out since you have recently left the league, and you were playing with COVID, right? Not with COVID, you know what I mean, during the time of COVID.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people don't know this. I don't know how they don't, but they have tiers now in the NFL. Like, players are tier 1, coaches, stuff like that. And then you have like tier 2 and tier 3, like media is tier 3, etc. To kind of stop the spread. And so everybody kind of stays in a bubble, almost like a bubble together. But then now they are pushing the vaccines. And I know that you have been very vocal about how you feel about it. Now there's a lot of players coming out that are talking about retiring. DeAndre Hopkins is one of them, who actually came out and said he's not going to do it. He's considering retiring. So what are your thoughts on this? Like, have you heard anything? Like, is the union speaking up, or, you know, how do you feel about the mandated vaccines, or the push for it, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a hot topic right now, just not just within football, but our entire country and world, right? So it's just one of those things where, like, last year, it was new for everybody. So we had pretty strict, you know, COVID protocols, strict to the point where everyone was tested every single day before you step foot in the facility. Close tracing contacts. So we had sensors on us all the time.
It's crazy.
So we could not sit next to or stand next to a teammate or staff member for more than 15 minutes, I believe, at a time. So, you know, if me and the kicker and punter are hanging out on the field, somebody's going to come grab us when it gets close to that 15-minute, because they're monitoring everything on the computers and all that kind of stuff, and these tracking devices, and literally they're ripping people apart, like, get away, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Obviously, we're in a mask. We're separated indoors. We can't eat together in the cafeteria, can't shower together, can't drink. I mean, it just did everything. And when I first got to the Titans, I was on the practice squad for like 4 weeks maybe. So I was actually, my locker was outside. So I was in the COVID section, or the COVID restriction section.
COVID hall.
Essentially what they want to do is keep the practice squad away, as far away from the team as much as possible, because if one of the active players gets tested positive, they want the practice squad guys kind of on their own, and they can activate those guys and replace those guys who test positive. And that's what happened with me. I got brought in the practice squad, and the snapper tested positive. Long story short, and I ended up getting activated, but like I was still, I was at first kind of practicing on my own. So I'd come into the facility. I'd come in the morning, first thing in the morning, I would test. As soon as I was cleared, I get a text on my phone saying you're cleared to enter the facility. I didn't show up to the facility until after the entire team had practiced. So
extreme.
At 2, I show up at 3. I go on the field. I'm not even out there with any coaches. Like, they're keeping everybody separate until I really got solidified with the active roster in like week 7, I think it was, when I started like being now my locker was in the real locker room. But even in the real locker room, there's every other locker is vacated. It's plexiglass partitioned in between each locker, and so like, the rules where you can't be in the locker room next to another teammate for X amount of time. Again, the 15-minute rules kind of thing.
It's so crazy.
So they got a little crazy with somebody tested positive, and they're going to go back and they're going to trace who was the closest contact, and then they're going to look at them, and so that's what happened later in the year. I think it was week 17 with Houston. We had Goskowski, our kicker, tested positive, and his close contact was Brett Kern, our punter. So Brett Kern got sent home. the entire week, didn't even practice. Goskowski was on COVID list, so he couldn't even play because it's a 10-day mandatory quarantine. And then like his wife tested positive, so like now it's even stricter. So it's just a kind of a domino effect. And for the most part, I think the season went off without any major hiccups for the most part. I mean, considering what we're going through as a country, and I mean, everything was new, everything was crazy. But we tested every single day before every game. After we got home from it, you know, we would land at like 3 a.m. from a away game. We test right there right there getting off the plane in the concourse area. And so now, obviously, we have the vaccinations available. So the COVID protocols for the most part are pretty much the same. Like a lot of virtual meetings. If you don't have to be around guys, they're not going to put you around them outside of practice. So everyone's kind of separated in meetings, and you know, the mask. If you're unvaccinated, you got to wear the mask. And they're really putting unvaccinated guys through the ringer. They're making it really, really hard on them as far as you know, what they can do, how they can participate. Like the travel protocols, they can't go out, they can't leave their home throughout the year. As far as like going out to a restaurant to eat with their family, they can't see family before or after a game. And then the fines that they're going to hand down are like incredibly
So is that
astronomical. So that you're gonna have an amount of, you know, it's like there's some teams that are like 50-60% vaccinated. So you have a fairly large number of guys on some teams that are unvaccinated, you know, and then you have some teams that are like 90%. So you're looking at, you know, let's just say 500 guys across the league, or less than that, maybe 300 guys across the league that are unvaccinated, and even some coaches, you know, or staff, whatever the case may be. But you know, I believe it's a personal choice, and I know this last memo last week really felt like guys were just kind of pushed into a corner and they're mandating it, and that's when guys kind of start putting their knucks up and like, all right, well, if you're a star player like DeAndre Hopkins, like he's a guy that can go out on a limb and say, hey, I'm going to retire then. Screw you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get vaccinated. But a lot of guys aren't in that position to say anything. So there's going to be, I'm sure, here with as training camp opens tomorrow, you're going to see more guys getting vaccinated. But the interesting, where the ugliness comes now is like Frank Reich, the head coach of the Colts, tested positive for COVID today. And he's been sent home. I think he's going to miss the first full week, and he's vaccinated. So he's going to miss the entire first week of training camp, and he's a vaccinated guy. So now all these questions are being posed like, hey, like if the vaccinated guys are testing positive and potentially spreading it around other guys, then why aren't they being reprimanded, or why aren't they, getting the harsh backlash that we receive as unvaccinated players? So the guys that are being vocal are coming out against our PA for the most part because they feel like our PA never really took a stand to, first of all, take a vote amongst the players. It was kind of just the NFL came out with their memo, and the PA just didn't even bat an eye. It was almost kind of this unwritten agreement that happened, like maybe behind the backs of the players. And that's where
So that was never brought to like any sort of not up for discussion.
Again, I'm not a part. I'm not a player rep. I'm not a part of those conversations. But from what I understand, it was never proposed to the players as a whole to kind of man. I mean, again, they're not mandating that you get vaccinated, but they're
pretty much are.
They're pushing the narrative. They're pushing that if you're not going to get vaccinated, the hammer is going to come down extremely hard, and the hammer is going to come down on the owner. With all these fines, like $70 million fine that they forfeit a game that they have to pay to the other team or whatnot. So, I mean, there's just, and then guys are just like, they're upset because now they can't see their families. They can't, they're allowing fans at training camp that aren't proving that they're vaccinated. They're allowing full capacity at the games that you don't have to prove that you're vaccinated. So it's like, how come you're just like taking it out on the players when, and we know it's all about the bottom dollar. It's all about it's
the narrative, and to push it and I get that. My biggest thing is like, what about the guys who've gotten maybe like had COVID? Like I know, not to put all my business out there, but don't have the vaccine because I've had it allegedly twice. So My thing is, my doctor told me pretty much don't get it until you don't have antibodies anymore because we don't know, like, we're going to put it in your DNA twice kind of thing. So what about guys that have, like,
Well, and
any type of clotting issues or anything, and their doctor has told them they can't get it? So,
All right, well,
no,
that
no,
was,
it's this. Go ahead.
that was going to be one of my questions. Was like, or it was Justin, one of the Jaguars reps. He wanted to know y'all's profession, your body is your tool.
Yeah.
That's what you use for your profession. So getting a vaccine, that is altering your tool, your body. So I mean, and Sam just
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, it's not the fact that we're not, and I'll say it right here, I'm vaccinated, but I'm still posing questions because I think it's a bit unfair that the unvaccinated guys that choose to not get vaccinated are literally just being forced into a corner. And so my stance as a current free agent, because I still want to play, there's no chance in my lifetime that a team's going to sign me if I'm off the street if I'm unvaccinated. So I made that personal decision, you know, about a month ago to get vaccinated because I knew that if there was an opportunity for me to play, the first question that they're going to ask is if I'm vaccinated. And if I'm not, they're not going to bring me in. And that's already been the case for some guys that I know that are free agents. They've had their workouts already canceled because they're not vaccinated. So I made that decision because this is how I provide for my family. Now, if I was already on a team and I was still kind of on the fence about it, I would still feel a little uncomfortable that I'm getting kind of pressed to, you know, take this vaccination when, you know, when the flu comes around October, November, the team's like, hey, flu shots are available in the training room. Whoever wants to get it can get it. And that's it.
yeah. I remember there was one game, I think.
We feel like that should be the same thing. Like, listen, like,
Yeah.
we are in a very controlled environment as a team already. The protocol is extremely high already. We're safe. I mean, what I say is, like, in 2020, there was nobody vaccinated.
Right.
And no one, unfortunately, no one had any crazy mishaps. Some guys tested positive throughout the year. There was only the Titans team was the only one that had to postpone a game. It all worked out. No other team missed any other games. Nobody unfortunately died. No, I mean, I know there's circumstances out there that are incredibly sad and unfortunate, but in the grand scheme of the NFL, right, it went off in without any hiccups. And that's hard. You know, we looked at the NBA, looked at the baseball, we looked at all the other sports going on.
The Olympics.
Really had all these really big issues. And the NFL the machine is so much more bigger. We have more guys on each team. Traveling is hard. You know, facilitating 100 guys plus another 100 guys in the staff and all that kind of stuff. It's hard.
a lot more coaches.
So the challenge on the NFL was extremely difficult last year. And so my thing is, like, if 2020 went off pretty well for the most part with nobody vaccinated, just half the team vaccinated is going to be better than it was last year, right? That's my logic. That's the way I look at it. And so again, it's touchy. It's one of those things that it's going to be a hot topic for a while now, and it's going to be really interesting to see how these things play out. Where, you know, if there's a breakout amongst vaccinated players and coaches, how they're going to handle it, as opposed to the outbreak amongst the unvaccinated. Because right now the unvaccinated players already know where they're staying because the NFL memo was directed towards them.
Yeah.
There's nothing really directed towards the Sure, the vaccinated player has a 24-hour, quarantine or whatever. They have to test one time negative and they're good. But to answer your question earlier about, people who have had COVID before, we've heard in the past, the narrative was like, well, if you got COVID, you got the antibodies, you're good. That was told to us this time last year, and now, 12 months later, going into a new season, with the vaccinated readily available for anybody, now things have kind of been twisted a little bit to make us believe, like, well, what we were told last year, how come that's changed so much?
Right.
In 12 months. And so that's where I think.
Well, especially for you guys, when we're hearing, that's what I'm hearing still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why is it different for y'all? That doesn't make any sense.
It's one of those things, man, where I think we're just, it's become very political. So it's politically charged.
Well, we got a
And
question.
it's the hot topic on every news channel, you know, and of course within the NFL locker rooms. And unfortunately, like the guys that I've talked to that are unvaccinated, they feel like they're not a part of the team. You know, that creates instant division amongst the locker room. And the first thing that a team tries to do early on in training camp is be cohesive and bring the unity, and they do all these activities together, and they try to the camaraderie, and that's what it's all about. But right now, I mean, it's not going to happen. And
Well, and you don't even get.
It's really gonna when people, if there's an outbreak and people start losing a paycheck, there is going to be some massive dysfunction within locker rooms. I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah,
there has
always.
to be. There has to. And it's not even going to be about winning football games anymore. It's going to be about like, hey, I need to protect my money. That's what it's going to be about. And
At the end of the day,
our
that's
PA
our job.
our PA has to make a stand here soon before things get out
Yes.
of control, and really prove to the players that they have their best interest in their back. You know, because right now they don't feel like the PA's really had their back in the past few weeks.
Well, and it's crazy too, like you were saying about the flu shot and all that. I specifically remember actually being down on the field. I was on the field for all the national anthems, and there was one where the J Fund kids were down there, and those are all kids that are going through chemo and stuff like that. Tom Coughlin's J Fund, amazing, by the way. Check it out, everybody. But Leonard Fournette had come up and was like giving them all high fives and stuff like that, and it turned out we found out later, I think it was that next day or that night, that he came out of the game because he had the flu, like he was vomiting, or maybe he had it before that, you know. So it's like,
Well, that was pretty unsettling for all those kids who could be, you know,
exposed to it, but that was just the flu then. So we're not treating that any different though. We're freaking out as bad as we are now, you know. And if the vaccine, you know, like you said, you have it, if that works for you and you get it for your purpose, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
Pushing
we
anything
gotta-
on anybody is scary to me. I don't
Well,
like
and
it.
that's
Yeah,
my
question.
stance, and that's where I haven't really though. I mean, I'm not knowledgeable by any means. I don't claim to think I know all the scientific data and all the back and all that kind of stuff. I'm just very, you know, against guys being forced, you know, to do something they don't want
So-
to do, and they had the. I just wish that guys had the decision, and it be, you know, every decision be respected.
It's
Would
my
you
body,
say-
my choice, right?
With you saying forced, we got a question from Chris Worrell. He said, "Is it forced or is it pressured vaccination?"
Well, of course, it's not forced. It's just if you read, I don't think by law you can force anybody to get the vaccination.
Or you can highly pressure somebody.
And I know that there's corporations out there that are like, you know, if you're a first responder or in the medical field, you know, they're starting to really press, you know, nurses and, you know, doctors and, you know, law enforcement officers and anybody that's within, you know, that kind of field to be vaccinated. I know there's a lot of craziness going on with that, with, you know, nurses like against being vaccinated and all that kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of people that are for it, you know. So we have this like divide in almost every field across everything, you know. So when it comes to NFL, if you read the memo that the NFL put out last Thursday, I believe, it's pretty much directed. It's almost like if you don't get vaccinated, your life is going to be hell for the next 5 months. Or,
Yeah, and
or you'll get cut. So I mean that's the way our players are feeling, and you know, like I said, I decided to get vaccinated because, you know, my only chance, if I was not vaccinated, I wouldn't be brought in, you know. And so I'm not against the vaccination whatsoever. I'm just against the fact that people have to feel like they have to take it and be pressured to do so. So to answer the question, it's not mandated, but it's definitely a pressure situation right now.
Yeah. I'm just ready for COVID to be over.
Well, and the thing is,
Who
like,
has the answer for
you
that?
know, the thing is, like, we're talking about football right now, and it's like, you know, the last thing, you know, we've had such a politically charged, like, 3 or 4 seasons in a row, and it's like, why can't we just get back to the game that everybody loves?
Yep.
And I know there's, outside of football, there's, you know, from a global perspective, there's a lot going on. But I think players and fans alike are just like, man, let's just go back to the game that we love, get in those seats again, cheer on our favorite fans, our favorite players, and let's get back to the America's game.
Well,
I think
that's-
that's what everyone's kind of just hoping for.
Yeah, that's the thing, like in our group. So besides this podcast, we have like a Facebook group, and we have like, you're not allowed to talk politics. Like we don't, because that's the whole point. We say our diversities unify us. We're all different, but football is what we love, and it's like you said, it's just so exhausting. It's,
Well, it's a distraction, and it takes away from guys, come into training camp ready to go.
Yeah.
And focus on football, and it's just going to be that triggered topic for a long time. It's not going anywhere. I mean, we know COVID's going to be around for quite some time, if not forever, just like the flu is. It's just different strands and all that kind of stuff. So it's just one of those things. I just hope we can adapt as a community within the PA and feel like we got our unions really got our back, and we come to an agreement with the owners and the teams, and
That's supposed to
every
be the
team
point of it.
Every team be ran the same, and just like I said, get back to ball.
yeah, I miss it. And
Yeah.
that's supposed to be the point. Well, uplifting stuff. Go ahead, Harish. I know you got a question for Matt. Go ahead. And then we'll let you start logging off, because I know we got to cover some Deshaun Watson that nobody wants to touch with a 10-foot pole. So
No, I think this is great information. Matt, I'll be honest with you. Prior to your information, now I was kind of I was one of those guys, right? Hey, you don't get vaccinated. It's you kind of dig your own grave, right? With one guy against. So I really, really appreciate your insight to this. I think it's really. So if it really feels like I haven't really said much, it's because I was really listening to your perspective.
yeah, it's very rare to have him be quiet. So good job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
We
it's
appreciate
very
that, Matt.
it's very rewarding to kind of see what it's really like, and we talk about our diversity unifying us. I think one thing that really does that is having discussions like this and having the ability to be adult about it. We had a discussion about this yesterday with one of the guys in our group, Chris, who's asked some questions, and I just want to thank you for your perspective, because it's kind of changed my mind in the way that I look at this and from a player's perspective. So.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Yeah, and Chris actually just commented, players' perspectives are much different than fans, and that's true, because you can sit here with a stake and say, burn it down, get your vaccine or go home, but at the same time, who you see on TV is also a person, just like you. So it's very true. It's very true. So
I got a question for you, Matt. So you were on the team with Pat McAfee, which was, by the way, we're at 160 days tweeting at him until he comes on. We're not going to stop tweeting until he comes on the show. But is his personality in the locker room and outside of the game like it is on his TV show? Like, is he the same person that he is on the show in real life?
I mean, it's pretty close. He's always been. He's always been very loud and very funny and very charismatic and very clever and just one of those guys that, I spent. I mean, Pat and I played together for 5 years and spent a lot of time together. Became very close. So it was obvious from the moment I met him that the guy was very talented. Had an extremely bright future. Very smart guy. Very, very witty and clever on social media and all that kind of stuff. And, I was kind of cool to see him really start. I mean, when he started the Pat McAfee show, like little comedy thing he did like once a week. I was there for like the ground level, like Facebook Friday stuff that he did and the Kilroy's thing every Tuesday night, like doing his live shows with fans and all that kind of stuff. And so to see, where he's come from in the past like 8 years to a syndicated show and all that kind of stuff. I mean, his platform is incredible, and that's what he's always wanted to be, a WWE wrestler. He always talked about that, and now he's like living his dream. I mean, I know he loved football, but it wasn't like his passion and his everything. And I think when he left the game, people were just calling him crazy. And yeah, I mean, he made a crazy move, but it was very thought out and planned, and he didn't just do it, on a whim. He had a game plan, and he's executed it. extremely well. And a lot of guys admire him because, we talk about life after football. What does that look like? How do you take advantage of your platform and turn it into something even bigger, and he's done that. And a lot of guys, not everyone's going to be able to emulate what he's done, but it definitely encourages guys like, hey, look, there's life after football, there's fun after football, there's opportunities after football, because, it could be a depressing conversation to be had when the game gets taken from you, whether you're just injured or old or can't do it anymore. But he's given a lot of guys, like, here in Nashville, we got Taylor Lewan and Will Compton who do Bustin' with the Boys, and they have a great podcast. And so there's a lot more active players that are coming out, starting to, showcase their personality a little more. And I think fans love it, because that's what Twitter's for. That's what Instagram's for fans and players to engage and get to know the player behind the mask, or whatever you want to call it, and off the field. And so, McAfee, he and I had a great time together. And yeah, to answer your question, he's not as like, his show is pretty hilarious and he's always been funny, but there was times where he was serious and he went to work and it wasn't all, fun and games all the time. And I got to see like the different personalities of Pat, but for the most part, he is that flamboyant guy. He's outspoken, he's loud, he's funny. Everyone gravitates to him.
I don't remember what team it was, but one of the best tackles I ever seen was that Pat McAfee kickoff tackle where he just blew up.
Against Denver.
That had to be the best hit you ever seen.
Pat McAfee won over my heart during the draft with his speech about the Titans. That's when I was like, I love this guy. Sign me up. I'm there.
He is very, very funny. He's very good at what he's doing what he was meant to do, and it's really fun watching him. Really, just doing all the wrestling stuff now, and he's living the dream, man. He's doing a great job.
Well, Matt, you're already married, but life after football, Rashad Jennings, our guest from a couple episodes ago, is on Dating with the Stars tonight. He was on Dancing with the Stars. He's just doing all the stars things.
That's
so maybe you could do Dancing with the Stars. Do it. Why not?
Maybe I'll do like American Idol, try to sing or something.
Do it. The Voice.
Hey, I'll be there right there.
You should just ask to be a judge on The Voice. And then when they ask why, just be like, just cuts.
For a long time, I wanted to. I've always been like a bachelorette, binge watcher. Shamefully admitting that, but my thing was I always wanted to be. I either wanted to take over Chris Harrison's job to be the host of The Bachelorette, because I think it's a hilarious show. And then, or I wanted to be the Grim Reaper who comes and takes the, when it's the dramatic, date night where there's two guys and one girl and one guy has to go home. And I wanted to be the guy. I honestly was trying to figure out how I could be the guy that walks into like the hallway and grabs the dude's bag to reveal who gets.
Yes.
I've always wanted to be the Grim Reaper of the.
I have an idea for you. I'll let you take my idea.
What's that?
Since you got kids. The Bachelor, Bachelorette, except nannies.
So you gotta
find out who's gonna be your nanny. That's entertaining that would be.
That'd be really good.
Everybody's chasing after your kid and trying to. People would watch the crap out of that. They watch 90 Day Fiance, right, Harish?
Hey, whoa.
I watch it too. I'm just saying.
Pleasures now.
Can you imagine if you have like 20 old ladies trying to fight to get your kid to love them and you don't have to do anything? It's the best show ever. I'd watch it.
Pitch that to ABC.
I should. Well, Matt.
Overton can be your Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
For that show.
Sorry, Granny, you're out of here. Kick rocks. So, Matt, tell us what you're doing now. Like, where are you at? How do we find you on Twitter? What are you up to? Give us the details.
Like I said before, I'm in Nashville. I was in Indy for 8 years, and that's where I met my wife. And it was kind of our plan was to settle down here in Nashville, and it just so happened that I played for the Titans, so it kind of sped up that process. So we've been here since last year, and we love it here. And so I've been doing real estate now for 2 years, going on 2 years now.
It's a
almost.
good job to have right now.
I've been doing real estate while I've been playing, so that's been fun to really kind of venture into something else. And while I'm playing, I'm still trying to play, so I'm a free agent, so I'm staying ready, like my hat says. But started the Stay Ready brand, which is, my little hat and clothing line that I started. Also now that the NCAA has allowed players to use their likeness, image, and name. Partnered with some collegiate athletes this year to kind of work on a mentorship program for them to help them with their name and likeness and how to get involved in the community and kind of how to self-brand themselves. So yeah, working on the Stay Ready brand, which is just mattovertonbrand.com, and doing a scholarship through that. So it's really kind of a long snapper community that we've created, which is cool. And then, I mean, being a full-time dad, my daughter just turned 4 months, so we just got our hands full with that. But other than, just being a dad and a husband's number one right now, and we're just hoping for an opportunity with football and see how that works out. And but other than that, man, just life is good, and yeah, just it's crazy how much your kid takes up your time.
Yes.
You
Oh,
don't
wait.
realize how selfish you've been living for.
Just wait till you
forever.
have more. Just wait till you have
Yeah,
more.
I mean, we have it easy with one right now, but it feels like
It's awful.
everything
Here's a
revolves
little inside.
around her time. So, but it's the greatest joy. It's the greatest
yeah.
job.
Here's a little inside story there for Matt. You actually kind of helped Sam name her daughter when the Jaguars
Oh,
beat
God.
the Ravens in London. That was the night she was conceived. So she said, let's name her London. So
Yes, my daughter's name is
thank
Lyndon.
you for beating the
That was a good win. That was a really good win. Too.
That was a good win. I love
Yeah,
meeting
Sam does too.
Ravens fans and telling them that. I love telling them that story.
That was a good fake punt that game, right?
Well, we actually did-
stops in that game. That was fun. That was
We did
that was a
her
good Lon-
gender-
Out of all the London trips I've had, that
Yeah.
was the best one I've had. So
Yeah, we actually did her gender reveal during the AFC Championship game, which we lost, but still.
that was it.
We won. We found out we were having a girl, so it was good. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, listen, if you're in Nashville, my cousin's a skydive instructor if you ever feel like jumping out of an airplane.
My wife's skydived before. I'm sure she's done that.
Well, let me know. She can go with her. She's a Jaguars fan, though, as long as you're fine with that.
Well, she's a Colts cheerleader. She's got blue and white. She's Colts blue and white all day. So I mean,
Forever.
Well, my cousin
Oh,
was a
that's a good
cheerleader,
one.
but not a
Cheerleader.
Jags cheerleader. So
I'm gonna hype my wife up a little bit. She was a captain, Pro Bowl cheerleader, so she's got a little resume behind her now. So
Congratulations. That's awesome.
she's the horseshoe to heaven was what they call them or whatever. But she's an indie girl through and through, and
so why did you take her to Nashville, Matt?
She wanted a winner.
I mean,
No.
Nashville's just a fun city.
Wait, hold on, Harish. Did you just admit that on air? I asked why.
Why he wanted a winner? Yeah, his wife was a Colts
I didn't
fan.
ask about his wife. I said, why did you take her to Nashville? And then you, the Colts commentator, said something about a winner. So are you admitting?
Yeah, Colts win all the time. Winning Colts.
I meant about taking his indie girl to
I didn't take her
Nashville, the home
anywhere.
of the Titans.
It was a mutual agreement to move down here, and so we
All
just made it
right,
happen.
fine.
So the hard thing is going to be, what team does my daughter start rooting for? That's going to be the hard one.
She's going to be a Jaguars fan, calling it.
So, I mean, she was born in Nashville, so she's probably, going to lead more towards being a Titans fan. But then her and I, my wife and I are both, got Colts ties, so she may be a Colts fan. And then if I play with somebody else this year, she's going to
Watch her be like a Browns fan, just to like spite
Maybe.
everybody.
I mean,
As long as she's
I'm
not a
not gonna
Cowboys
push. I'm
fan,
gonna let her
we're good.
decide for herself, and I'm not gonna be pushy on anything. I'm gonna let her decide. She may not even like football, so that may be
That's not true.
that may be.
That'll be awkward.
Yeah.
Definitely, she's in a football family. She's gonna love football.
Yeah. That's what happened with me. But I remember liking Jeff Gordon because all my family was NASCAR fans, and I really didn't care. But they all hated Jeff Gordon, so I was like, I like Jeff Gordon. They were like, what? That's gonna be her. I'm calling it now.
All right.
When is her birthday? Like, what month was she born?
March 25th.
March. I don't know. I don't do zodiac signs, but I'm just gonna say for the show that she's probably gonna be stubborn because she's a Aquarius. I don't even know what that is, but I have no idea. But
I'm sorry. I really wish. I
if
didn't.
she likes football and she's anything like me, she'll probably do it despite just
Yeah.
stubborn.
Yeah.
But it's good. Raise strong girls. They're great. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's been a couple years in the making.
Hope I did.
I think everybody
did
thought
good
we
for
were
you guys.
lying this
What's
whole
that?
time. I think everybody thought we were lying this whole time. Like Matt Overton next week. No, next week. No, I
Matt's
swear.
coming sometime.
I promise.
Hope you guys get Pat on here one time. I don't know who runs his social accounts, but maybe he'll see your tweet.
He's written
He
us.
saw it. Yeah, he's messaged us and he tweeted at us, but every time we
Just
try
let
to
him
say
know,
something,
man.
he just never, you know.
He's hard. I mean, he's a busy man, so
Yeah, that's
we
true.
gotta catch him
We-
on,
don't worry.
on the right day. So hopefully you get an opportunity to talk to him because he's great.
Yeah, he's probably like, oh my God, what can I do to shut you up at this
That'll
point?
be my fangirl moment, by the way.
Yeah,
The moment we get
don't go
that
too crazy.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it might get a little wild.
Well, I hope your teams all succeed this year and you guys all win the Super Bowl. So you
Except
guys
for the
have
Titans.
a great year.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Unless you end up back there, then we wish you the best.
We'll see
Don't
what
worry.
That's the
I'll-
only reason.
I'll win the Super Bowl in Madden 22. Don't worry about it.
There you
Just
go.
for you.
Awesome, guys.
Well, Matt, thank you again so much
Thank
for
you.
coming
Good to meet you
on. And
finally, and appreciate the support, man.
yeah. And definitely make sure you check out, give us your Twitter handle too so everybody can find you.
At Matt Overton _LS. LS is in long snapper. So
Awesome.
And then
same
the
for
Matt,
Instagram, whatever. So it's all the same across all the platforms.
and then MattOvertonBrand.com is where they can find all your
Yeah,
Your-
hats, and I got for all the girl dads out there. I got a line, Girl Dad
Yeah, I
Club.
definitely
We
gotta
do
get one of those.
little-
Oh, that'd be my
little
husband.
hats. Yeah, so we got. I'm a proud girl dad, so we had to show some love to all the girl dads out
Oh
there.
yeah.
Yep,
Well,
that
if
would
I
be my
have a
husband.
daughter sometime in the future, I'll definitely make sure to pick one up.
All right, that sounds good, man.
Thank you
All right,
again,
Matt.
Matt, so much for coming on. Hopefully we'll see you
Yeah,
soon.
you good? Appreciate y'all. Go
Thanks,
Jags, go
Matt.
Colts, go Titans.
Woo. But not the Texans.
Oh,
He didn't play for your team, Matt.
yeah, Matt.
All right, guys, take care.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks,
Bye.
Matt.
That was awesome. Very cool
It was
guy.
fun.
Very cool guy. Do we want to talk about? There's really not much to talk about. Training camp started this week. Aaron Rodgers showed up and said hi, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, he's resigning!" Like, no duh. So,
And then Deshaun Watson showed up, and then the Texans said we'll trade him. All right, good show. See you guys next week.
Have a good one. Bye.
yeah,
Actually, real quick, Aaron, didn't they say that they're restructuring Aaron Rodgers' contract so he could be a free agent next year?
yeah, and something about him wanting someone
Randall Cobb.
there, Randall
All right, he
Cobb,
wants Randall Cobb there. Yeah.
and then
Which is good for the
Deshaun
Texans.
Watson showed up. By the way, Pat Storm commented on us early, so Pat
I
Storm,
saw that.
hi.
Oh, Pat.
I'd like Pat Storm, if you're listening, please come on here next week and fill us in on Watson so we could stop reading ESPN because they contradict themselves with every other article. But anyways, Deshaun Watson showed up to training camp because he was going to get charged $50,000.
You're speaking of Pat Storm. I want to say he's the only person that called it that Deshaun Watson was going to come to training camp. Everybody dogged him on Twitter. Everybody dogged him in the media. He's the only one that says he will be there.
Oh yeah.
Because you want to be with
No, I
everybody
saw
else,
it.
dude.
I saw it too because it was funny because I don't know if it's Schefter or Rappaport that does it all the time. It's like per me, you know.
Yeah.
So I saw a thing from Houston Texan. It was either Texan Storm Report or Texans Unfiltered that came through. I think it was on Facebook. And it was like, as I said. I'm like, okay, calm down, Adam Schefter of the Texans. We get it. We get it.
Are you sure that wasn't Dylan?
I don't know who it was, but it gave me Pat Storm vibes for sure. For sure. But yeah, it came out today that I guess something about Watson, police, some of the girls that are suing did call the police. When did they call? We don't know. Do we even want to get into it? I don't even care anymore.
Not really.
All right,
I don't
cool.
even
I mean,
care,
what
honestly.
was there to get into? We already said it like 9,000 times.
I know, I'm so over it. Like, I don't
Why are we
understand.
talking about a player that's not even going to be in our division in 2 months? Like, who cares?
We'll see. I don't know who would want to pick him up right now. There's way too much.
I-
Like, you just don't know.
I think he's still going to get traded. This year. I think his value is going to go down, but I think he's going to get traded. I think
My only thing is, I guess the
more incentive
Texans...
to get him.
The Texans just now said that they were open to trading. They weren't open to trading before.
Combination of
I would-
Isn't that weird though? Isn't that weird? Like the timing of when they said
Right.
that.
So to me,
Like, think about it.
I'm thinking that the Texans know more than we do.
Oh yeah,
So
well
The
duh.
Texans are yeah.
Right. So
They
they're
know-
like,
they know
okay,
more than
now
they do
we're going to
now.
trade you. I think there's either the investigations coming to an end, B, is going to sell it out of court, and he can be traded. That's why they said it's going to take 5 picks, so every team knows, hey, this is what it's going to cost to get him.
I'm sure some team is going to have a clause, though, like, hey, we'll sign you, but...
If something goes haywire, then
Or you are to go to jail, or you are
trade is
unable to
voided.
play, or you are suspended, like, we're not
Get
paying
draft
you.
picks and everything back. Right.
With that being
Yeah.
said, I think he ends up in Miami. Even though we've heard Philadelphia,
Miami or
I think-
Philly. I think Miami, Philly. Are the two.
Yeah.
I think those are like the front runners at this point.
Denver.
I guess Denver would work too. I just honestly, I
Who's
wanna
starting
send
for
him to, like,
Denver? We were talking about this earlier. Is it Bridgewater?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Paxton Lynch. I'm just kidding.
Is it either Bridgewater or Drew Lock?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be. Look, I don't think Drew Lock is bad. They gave it. No, I think he does have. I don't know. I think Drew Lock deserves it. Listen, if Blake Bortles can be the starting quarterback for 6 years, so can Drew Lock.
That's because it's the Jaguars. Calm down.
Fair enough. John Elway hasn't found a quarterback since we gifted him Peyton Manning, so it's not really that far.
But he stepped down, so. It's not
Oh,
John Elway.
did he, Jen? I don't pay any attention to him. They haven't been relevant forever. Anyway, hey, training camp started. I'm excited. It's football season.
Yes.
Here's me to hoping we stay healthy because we still haven't done it.
5
for
more
7 years.
Sundays.
Yep. We're almost there. For those of you listening that play fantasy football, do not draft yet. I never understand why people draft right before training camp.
Somebody told me the other day they drafted in July, and I was like, what?
I read it.
Well, like-
somebody
like
on
you did, John.
somebody on Twitter said he drafts in March or April because he likes to live life on the edge. I was like, oh god,
Well,
that
if you're-
stresses me out.
If you're in a dynasty league, you can draft whenever.
Yeah, dynasty
You're gonna
leagues are different.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I think I might like get Game Pass this year and watch every preseason game. That's how much I miss preseason last year.
Yeah.
Right, that whole 4 weeks of football, you're like, shit. Felt like
Showing
Dave
up in-
Chappelle, you know? Like,
Yeah, no.
I feel like this was the longest off season ever.
It was.
It
I thought
was.
this offseason went by quickly, honestly.
I
know,
didn't.
you know.
Really?
I think because it was in the group, there wasn't much.
Well, and then last
Yeah.
year we were like, are we gonna die? Are we not gonna die? Did China do it? Did the U.S. do it? Is it Trump? Is it Biden? Like there was all this stuff going on, and then after that it was like, oh, damn it, nothing to fight about. Now we're just sitting
Both our group
here.
got shut down.
Except seeing RJ post the same recycled material every 5 minutes.
Yeah,
That's
group
basically
got
what
shut
our
down.
offseason was.
that's true.
Oh, if we had our own group, it would have been wild. Whew. Imagine. Thanks,
We
Facebook.
probably be 20K right now. So appreciate it, Facebook.
Yeah, thanks,
I should be
Facebook.
back in 48 hours. Thanks, Facebook.
Well, guys, there's nothing else to add. Training camp. We'll have some updates next week. I hope all of your teams stay safe, and we'll see what plays out with the Watson and vaccination drama. Until then, make sure you like us on Twitter. Find us at AFC SFB. I know we're running a contest right now also. Subscribe to our YouTube. You can win a jersey of your team, like of your choice. It's AFC South Fan Battle on YouTube. And
Except for
also,
the Titans, hold on. Except for the Titans, you're getting the Oilers jersey because we don't like nothing to do with the Titans.
Oofta.
and Titans commentators out there, if anybody wants to jump on, we're going to start doing Sunday evenings. I know that we're going to have football games, but we're going to do game recaps. You know they're a lot shorter than when we have guests on. So any Titans commentators that want to come on and join us. Titans, Jags, I think we're good for the Colts, but anybody else. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in with us, and we will see you next week.